Well,
I'll go
again,
first if nobody else wants to.
hold on
Please.
1 second, Brandy. Hold on 1 second, Brandy. Before we open it up, I've been asked by Monique that we need to make sure we have any open public comments on this agenda item. So if you would just check in on that, Angela and Monique. And then we'll call for a motion.
I don't have anyone.
Okay, so no citizen comment. So do I have a motion? Go ahead. Need a motion and a second to get the ball rolling.
I'll move to approve.
So
I'll
motion by
second.
Landy. Who was the second? Is that Kelly?
I will. Kelly.
Ready for discussion? Gary?
Sorry, I was muted. Yes. So we got a motion properly seconded by Kelly. So is there any discussion?
Yes.
And
May
please just call out who you are before you go ahead and speak, and just for the
This
record.
is Brandy, but everybody knows my horrible voice. So I don't usually have to say who I am.
Distinctive. It's distinctive.
Sure. Thank you, Michael. So first of all, I'm very familiar with Michael's work. Great choice, Amy. I
Thank you.
love that he is a local artist.
Yeah, I do too. I do too.
Yes. Michael, I am so sad that this is not in color. I know it will be, but it's hard to look at this in black and white and really get the impact of what it's going to be. I don't know if that's because you want to kind of have carte blanche on where you go color scheme wise. I do think it might be helpful for us to get this in color. I'm not trying to speak for everyone on the commission, but when we're approving art, we need to do it in its actual form, not in a black and white.
Well,
It sounded bitchy, and I don't mean it that way, but
no, I understand. Everything that's inside of the letters will be all natural colors.
more
The
like
only-
your Nashville sign that you
In other
showed.
words, like it was, if you went down there and took a photograph, that's how it would look. If I think we included the reference to the one we did in Seymour, Indiana. And let's see if we can scroll down. Oh, that's one. No, keep going. Well, oh, yeah, keep going.
Mhm.
I'm assuming Amy included. No, maybe not. Okay.
I think it's
well-
like the Nashville one if you go up.
Yeah, and that's an older one. It's a little faded, but it's a good example right there. You'll see. We'll have nice blue sky in the background. There'll be natural colors of all the elements, as if you're taking them right there in the middle of the day. That's what we'd look at. The only question I would have would be the colors in the background, and that's something that we just need to play with. I want to do something that is going to make sure that it's not going to overwhelm the Franklin lettering itself. It's going to be more in the background, just to give it a little edge, give it a little pop. But the rest of it, the Tennessee flags, natural colors, again, inside the letters, it's going to have good depth. It's going to pop right off that wall. And you're right. To see it in color is one thing. Maybe I just didn't want to spoil it for you when we saw it for real.
Sure, go
And
that way.
I'll just add that expense-wise, to do the full thing without it being approved, we wanted to make sure
Understood.
the theme
Correct.
before we paid Michael more money.
Yeah. Well, Michael, keep in mind too, they just painted the factory water tower green. So I don't know if you want to go retro and capture what we all knew it to be, or what it might be moving forward.
That's interesting. I haven't seen it.
Something to consider for moving forward.
No,
But-
I'd probably keep it the way it was. That's where everybody knows it.
I would agree.
Yeah, so that
This
would
is a
be.
much better direction, Amy. Of
Thank
course, I do still wish we could do the homage to our, physicians, but that's not going to be something that's embraced by everyone except for people who knew who they were. So
We discussed that, and yes, a different generation that's going to remember those
Sure.
positions. And then we were really hesitant because family members or heirs to those people would say, well, that's not his color of his eyes. That's not his eyebrows.
Understood.
That, so it was
Yeah.
just a little challenging. And this, we thought people would want to have pictures, and like Michael said, Facebook and social media, there might be more opportunities with this aspect.
Great.
Yeah,
That's all I have right now.
Cool.
Any other discussion by the other commissioners?
I have a question. This is Nan.
Hello, Dan.
Hello, Michael. I met with you when I was with the Arts Council, and you do great work. So it's good to see you again.
Thank you very much. Good to see you.
Yeah. So how do you? Because I don't know all the technology, but how do you keep it up? How do you keep it up? So if it fades, like you said, the Nashville one, and then also, what happens if it gets tagged with graffiti? Do you use some sort of something so it can be washed off or fixed easily? Like, how does that work?
Actually, it is incredibly rare that a decent mural will get tagged. A lot of people will actually put murals up on a building to keep it from getting graffiti. It's almost like a professional courtesy. But that being said, compared to the Nashville mural that we did, it was probably 20, 25 years ago. What we did, not only are we using a better quality exterior acrylic paint, but we're putting a special clear coat over the top of it that has gives it an incredibly hard surface and includes a UV filter, so there's no fading. So, and then
Great.
if it does get tagged, guys, it's only paint. We can come in there, and I'm not saying that's, quote, included in the quote, that kind of a thing. Sorry, I'm an artist, but I'm also a businessman. I can't say it's not going to get tagged. I would be really shocked if it did. But if it does, you've got a clear coat over the top of it. That can be removed. The paint can be removed, and just if paint gets removed from it, then you just paint over it. Just fix it. It's just paint.
And we do plan on having a camera out there. Not that that's going to stop anybody, right? But we do plan on having it. There's two, I don't know if you can tell above the N and the I, there are two light sources there. So it's pretty.
I was wondering what that was.
Yeah.
They're already there. And we may, just depending, because they're kind of old structures, we may put some different lights out there to shine down on it. We're just not sure yet until we actually see how it's going to be framed, on the wall, and how it's but we may do some different lighting from those sources.
Does that answer your question somewhat?
Yes, it does. Thank you. That's always my concern, is like, what happens when, it starts fading, or if someone tags it. I mean, we have to be realistic, and and is there so I guess it's a business owner's cost, and hopefully it won't ever happen, but that's just the caveat.
Yeah,
It's just the nature of the beast.
Can you explain to me what that means? I'm sorry, I'm an old fart, evidently. Tagging it.
Somebody comes out there and sprays graffiti.
Defaces it in any way.
Yeah, they spray their initials on it. Usually, gangs will come out and spray their initials to designate a particular territory.
Well, let's not jinx it. That's not going to happen.
No, not going to happen.
Yeah. Don't want to go there. Any other discussion?
Obviously, if it was something that was offensive or profane or anything, we would do everything immediately to get that off. So
Oh, sure.
it would
Absolutely.
not be sitting there for.
One more quick question. Why did you guys choose the Middle Tennessee Hot Air Adventures? It's the only one that isn't like a historic site. It's a commercial building or commercial right? I think.
Yeah.
Just curious what that was all
I
about.
think they have hot air lift-offs from Harlandale, if I'm not mistaken. It might not necessarily be the representative of that particular venture, but that there are hot air balloons all over Franklin.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not
Okay.
necessarily
I
that
gotcha.
particular business. It's just to represent that you know, during the season, you'll see hot air balloons all over.
Mhm.
And that's really what it's representing.
Okay, so it's not that particular commercial
No.
organ, it just is
Right.
got
Right.
it, perfect.
Hey, Michael, this is Ashley Roberts. The only thing, I mean, I would agree with Nan. The only other thing I can see maybe adding is, I know the city is we're trying to focus on the trails and the river system.
Mhm.
Or maybe, and I know you got Harlansdale, but maybe including like a river scene. I love the hot air balloon too, but I know that the rivers and the trail system is pretty important in town as well. If you're looking for another option for that one letter. And that might be nitpicky.
Well, that might be something to consider. I mean, we can certainly talk about it, but you know, I from the very first piece of artwork that we have, I love the idea of putting the color in there, and I think you can get
Pop
some
with that
really
balloon.
a really good pop with some hot air balloons.
Oh yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, and I think that we can look for other opportunities in town to highlight trails, rivers, that type of thing. I would love to do some kayaks, you know, a kayak scene or something like that. I remember just when they finally opened up the Harpeth, there were probably 50 cars lined up and down Lewisburg, just people wanting to get in. So that's definitely a hot button. That's something that really attracts a lot of people. And I think we could probably come up, like Gary said, there's going to be other opportunities. This is going to open up some opportunities to do some fun things around town, and that would be a good subject matter to tackle.
Can you zoom in on the letters? I'm working on one computer.
Did
I'm
we
looking
miss
to-
it?
I'm looking to see if that's chip on the A or not. It's not, is it?
It's what?
Chip on the square. No, we don't have
Statue
chip.
at the square.
Okay. That's the most iconic Franklin thing for sure is chip.
What are you calling it, if I may ask? I'm sorry.
The monument in the middle of the square.
Okay, gotcha.
We call him
Yes.
Chip.
Because he's chipped.
No, I don't know if I put that one in there.
Yeah, the top of his hat is chipped off.
Is it really? Okay. See, that's something I didn't know.
So I echo, this is Gary Vogren, I echo what Ashley said about something parks related. The Harpeth River was my first thought as well, so thank you, Ashley. The second thing I was thinking about, being that this has to go before the mayor and board of aldermen, does color come into play? Do they need to see that? Is that something they're going to say, well, yeah, this is black and white, but what does it look like in color? Do we need to
Well,
have something for them.
the only question, the only comment I guess about that is that all of a sudden everybody becomes art critics.
Subjective.
If you give them specific colors if you give specific colors to a committee, then it's going to be 2 years before this thing's going to get approved.
Agreed.
Everybody's going to want specific colors. They think it should be this, they think it should be that. This is a relatively neutral. We're looking to get approval for the design. And as far as, now I might be speaking out of turn, we're looking to get approval for the design. If somebody has a problem with a specific color or something like that, then they could make that an argument. Right now, we're looking for getting the design approved. We got this, we want the subject matter approved. Take a look at past projects as far as how they are treated when it comes to color. And you'll see that it's just basically straight across the board, nothing strange, nothing weird. And
It's
no,
true
it's going
to what we're visualizing too. It'll be true to what these places actually look like.
Exactly. So I think that you give the folks too much to quote pick at, and seriously, you go down the rabbit hole.
This is Ellie. So Gary, I think that's a good question because when it gets to the Board of Mayor and Aldermen, and Brandy, I'd love for you to chime in since you sit as an alderman as well, but what we have always told them is we're going to bring them things that are going to be what they're going to see. And we can all sit here on our different levels. We've got some artists on our commission. that are way more educated on art than I am, and I'm an art lover myself, but I'm not as educated as they are. And I can picture what this is, and I don't know if you guys need to include different samples that could be more true to form of what this is going to look like ultimately. But what we don't want to happen is that this gets to the Board of Mayor and Aldermen and they stop it there because they don't know what this is
Yeah,
going to
that
look
was my
like, because
concern.
maybe some of them don't have
Okay, all
the
right.
ability to visualize what it could end up looking like. So I think, Gary, I think your question is a good question because we know what that process looks like from that end.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I would just say you have to look at the demographic of the board. And Michael, I don't know how versed you are on that. And we tend to deal in a pretty tight space. I think Gary would agree. When things are
Yes.
brought up to us, I mean, it's I's dotted, T's crossed. And, you know, us as a Public Arts Commission, we've had a couple of projects go before the board after the commission has approved it. But with this being really the first full-scale mural, I think that you're going to end up being picked on a little bit more than you want. And you might, well, I'm just saying, because I understand where you're coming from, but those words you use for us probably wouldn't set well in that arena, just because of what we're used to receiving.
Okay.
So even if maybe it's presented with this is left uncolored because it's going to replicate exactly what the visual is, maybe it needs to be delivered a little bit more comprehensively, an explanation, if you feel like you need to stay with a black and white presentation.
It's
So
to me that it would be better if we put some color to this.
It sounds
maybe.
like, Michael, what we could do is even if we took this, you know, an 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper, blew it up, did some pencil, even just colored pencils to kind of color in and shade in. Do you think that would be
I
too?
could put some color. I could put some color to it.
From my perspective, this is Ellie. I think it would be helpful to know what the sunburst, what I'm going to call the sunburst behind the word Franklin is going to be, what color the letters are going to be. And Brandy, correct me if you feel differently. I don't know if you need to get into all the small detail of all, you know, of the, you know, the theater and so forth. But if I had the bigger picture of what the sunburst look like, the color of the letters, you know, obviously we know what the TN looks like. I think that would help get them along because then they know the colors for each of the individual buildings and so forth.
Okay.
Yeah, I agree with that, Ellie.
I
And I
agree.
think
And maybe
too-
even just like a color palette, even it doesn't have to be
Exactly.
Oh,
applied
yeah.
That's exactly what I was thinking.
to the mural, almost like paint swatches. Like these are the selection of colors that we'll be using. So that way, as you're concerned of people nitpicking, they wouldn't have anything to nitpick. They would just know that these are the collection of colors being used. Because I think it's wonderful. I know I haven't said anything yet, but I think it's really great. And I appreciate everybody's feedback and how you ran with that feedback from the last meeting. I think you did a wonderful job and I'm excited about it.
Oh, cool.
We are too.
I think even if there was a side-by-side comparison to a similar piece so they could visualize what it's going to look like, you
We
know?
could do that.
I mean, definitely, Michael, keep examples of your other art pieces, but put something close to this so that it's a reference.
Okay. I can do that, and I'll get together with Amy, and we'll make sure that's included. When is that next meeting?
Or when would you need this by? If you guys approve it and take it to the next level, when would you need to have these new comps or this new collection that we're talking about?
Probably would try to get it on the second Tuesday BOMA work session in July. I have the date in front of me now. So that second Tuesday in July.
Okay, so you're talking about 6 weeks from now. Okay.
Yeah. Is that enough time for you?
Oh, sure. I can do that. Amy, you good with that?
Good with that.
Cool. All right.
So we have a motion and a second. Do we need to make an amendment to put some language in there regarding the color samples, Monique,
Yes.
as part of this next submittal?
Yes. This is Mary Cruz Fincher speaking. Yes.
The attorney says yes, please.
So is this, okay, go ahead. So is this approved with
Well, we need to make a commissioner amendment to this before we vote.
Amendment,
So
okay.
if somebody can make an amendment to the motion and have that second, and then we can take a vote.
This is Ashley. I would like to amend the original motion to include a paint swatches, and whatever else we need to add to that.
And or color, okay.
Color palette.
Color palette, yeah.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Second.
We'll do a backwards situation.
So seconded by Brandy, motion by Ashley. Okay, are we ready to vote?
We
With
need
the
to,
amendment?
oh, I'm sorry, before you vote on the amendment, there needs to be, if there is any discussion, and the ability to discuss the amendment itself, and then you can vote on it.
Okay, very good. Is there any discussion on that amendment? Thereby hearing none, we ready to vote? Okay. Jennifer's absent. Brandy,
Aye.
Ellie,
Aye.
Sherry, not here. Julie,
Aye.
Kelly,
Aye.
Ashley,
Aye.
Nan,
Aye.
Gary, aye. This consideration is moved for approval. Thank you.
Cool.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you. We appreciate your time. We, as many have mentioned on the board, we appreciate you working with us and coming back to us, refining the plan, come up with a very cool, unique piece of art sculpture on the building. So we appreciate
We're
that. Thank
excited.
you very much.
And we'll get that to you at the end of June or 1st of July in time for that second week.
Absolutely.
Hey,
Thank you.
I'm
I'll
sorry
get
to-
with you. I'm sorry. I'll get with you, Amy, on when we'll need it, so you'll have a good deadline.
Perfect. Thank you. Thank you all so very much.
Thanks, guys. Really appreciate the opportunity.
Excuse me, I'm
Dan.
sorry, wait,
Appreciate
before
it,
you guys
Michael.
log off, can you guys hear me? Before you log off, you need to vote on the main motion. You voted on the amendment, so now you have to vote
Oh.
on the main motion as amended. So, I mean, I'm sorry to.
No, you're fine. Got to keep it legit. So the main motion, ready to vote. Jennifer is absent. Brandy,
Yes.
Ellie,
Aye.
Julie,
Aye.
Kelly,
Aye.
Ashley,
Aye.
Nan,
Aye.
Gary, aye. Thank you. It's approved. The ayes have it.
Cool. On to the next
Thanks again
step.
so much.
Thank
You
you.
bet.
We're going to sign off. Appreciate it.
Thank
Thank
you for your
you.
time.
Bye.
Appreciate
Thank
it.
you.
All right. On to item number 6, consideration of proposal for a mural located at Schlotzsky's, 1708 Galleria Boulevard. I'd like to introduce Elliot as a representative for the applicant. Go ahead, it's your floor. Are they logged in, Monique, you know?
Can you hear me?
Oh, there you go. Yeah, we got you.
All right. Sorry about that.
Welcome. Oh, you're fine, Elliot.
Thank you. Thank you. It's a pleasure to meet you all. Greetings from Austin, Texas. My name is Elliot Garofalo. I'm the CEO of Patriot Services Network. We're the national GC for Schlotzsky's Restaurants. Basically what we're doing is the company is going through a rebrand, and we're refreshing all of the locations nationwide. And it's hopefully you guys all eat at Schlotzsky's, but especially the one in Franklin there in Galleria. But basically one of the elements of the refresh are exterior murals. And I think one of the elements of these murals are to bring some of the legacy of the brand from its roots here in Austin, along with kind of the differentiators of the brand, which is, you know, they bake their own bread daily within the restaurants, and use fresh products. Nothing is fried within the restaurant menu. And I think here, as you look at the representation of the graphic, you can kind of see some of those elements. One of the things I did want to differentiate and why we chose to go the route of your committee is you'll see there's nothing on there that says Schlotzsky's. The point is it wasn't about name branding. It was really about the legacy of the brand with regards to its heritage, roots, and the things that make it different. So we thought we love the elements. I think that there was a couple examples of there. There's a second exterior example that does have Schlotzsky's. The one you're looking at now is a weeded S to represent the fresh baked bread within the bakery of each store. And then there's another graphic as well. There you go. Well, that's what it looks like. That's typically the placement of where it would go as well at Franklin. There was one more exterior graphic that did have Schlotzsky's on it. Or maybe I didn't forward that, but this is the one that you're looking at is the one that we were proposing for Franklin. And it's a vinyl material made by 3M. It's, think of it, the application of it is more how you would wrap a car. Think of that type of material. It's placed on very little adhesive. The material naturally adheres to the surface, whether that's brick or hardy board or whatever. And then we apply it with heat to literally shrink wrap it. If you look at this graphic, you can actually see this was applied to a hardy board exterior. And you can see how it actually wrapped around each board without having to cut the graphic. It's got a wear and tear of up to 10 years before we need to take a look at it. And quite frankly, the idea is by then, I'm sure that the brand will come up with another refresh item by the time the lifetime of this graphic becomes an issue. That was really it for us. Hopefully we can get you some time back on your agenda here. But we wanted to present this to you. We really think it's a really neat differentiating element for the brand. We know that there's a lot of synergies and similarities between Austin and Nashville and Franklin with kind of what we call, keep Austin weird and protecting and promoting our art scene and the things that make us unique, such as the bats and our bridges and things like that. And so we were hoping that we'd be able to share that at this location. The refresh of that location was completed right before March, right before the whole COVID situation. So if you haven't been in there, please go look at it. It looks like a completely different store. And it'd give you a better idea as well as kind of the impact that these exterior graphics would make to the refresh of the brand. Any questions I can answer for you?
So is this going on the side of the building closest to the interstate?
Yeah.
On the on-ramp?
The purpose of this is to obviously get the most visual opportunity with regards to traffic. Mm-hmm. So that weeded S, I believe on the plans for Franklin, that weeded S graphic would go above the entry. And then we had another weeded S that would go like this one on the drive-through wall. And then the full graphic, which would be the right of the actual front entrance door facing the gallery, I believe.
Okay.
Thank you, Elliot. Thank you for the presentation. I need to open the public comment portion of the meeting. Is there any citizen comments? Monique, Angela?
No, don't have any.
Okay. Thank you. So what I need now is a motion by one of the commissioners to get the discussion going. Motion in a second.
I'll make a motion.
To do what?
motion
To
to,
discuss?
You have to make it to approve or deny.
Motion to approve.
Yeah.
Sorry, motion to approve.
I'll
do we have a
second.
second? So we properly seconded by Brandy. Okay. Any discussion?
I have a question.
Yes,
Go
ma'am.
ahead, Brandy.
You'll go back up to the main image, Monique or Angela, whoever's handling the screen. I can read everything but the blue with what does that say, Elliot? Which, by the way, I love your name.
Oh, thank you, ma'am. I believe it's a pun. I have to look. It's something around dough for life, dough of, bread.
I just want to
dough.
make sure we're not approving something that we haven't read and I can't read it. So
Oh, absolutely. I can. Yeah, I
with
can.
the something through your life is what I don't know.
I think it's with the something around the dough for life. So
Okay.
I will. I can send you another graphic for that.
It'd be good. We all grew up in the Ariel Little Mermaid era, so we don't want anything to hit us from nowhere.
Absolutely.
And
I appreciate it.
then what is the significance of the bats?
I was wondering the same thing.
The bats.
You can
So
go see the bats.
yeah. So Austin has the largest population of a certain species of bats that live under the Congress Bridge. You can see the bridge right above the green bush there. And at night, during the summer, everybody goes down to the river running through downtown Austin and stands on the Congress Bridge, and all the bats come out, and it's quite a scene, and they fly through the hill country.
Cool.
It's one of the large. Yeah, it's a unique feature to Austin.
I just didn't understand
seen
with
the
a
bats.
restaurant why you'd be promoting bats, but that makes sense. So
Yeah.
I've
Can I
seen the
suggest
bats.
something? This is Kelly. May I suggest something?
Yes, sir.
Okay, it's a beautiful mural. I think you did a great job. Instead of bats, is it possible to hit home a little closer and do something like mockingbirds? Can it be altered?
There's a possibility to do that with the vinyl printer. I would have to see what kind of cost impact that would have to the franchisee. I certainly could inquire about that, and then we would obviously need some kind of a file that we could use that wasn't trademarked that we would be allowed to include onto that graphic.
Okay. And second, my lunch today. Slotsky's.
You what? I'm sorry.
you're not on
Just about-
video, Kelly.
I'm not on video.
No.
Yeah,
can't
go
see
to
you.
the bottom and hit video. There you
I'm on
go.
video now.
Oh, Kelly, we just became friends.
Well,
I think you're
You're
getting your
just-
mockingbirds.
yeah, good. I just am not a fan of those bats either. I mean, they're fun and interesting, but
There
it has
was
nothing to do with Franklin. So
there was another
think
there was
mockingbird is
an
great.
alternative exterior that I submitted. I don't know if we don't have it, but it was another graphic that we used as an alternative to this one. It did have Schlotsky's in it somewhere in like one of those little corners a little bit. So
This
I
is the
know-
only one that I got, Elliot.
okay, I apologize. I can I don't know if I can send it to you. I don't think I can share my screen out. I don't want to cause any issues here. But I can look at an alternative to the bats. I think this one.
Thank you.
This one I think is a little bit more, what I would say, fitting of Nashville and Franklin. This graphic, like I said, this is my preference from a color perspective and aesthetic, and the messaging with regards to the differentiators than the alternative graphic. So, but I certainly will look into see if we can replace the bats with the mockingbirds.
That's my opinion. So I don't know if other people feel the same way.
Yeah, Kelly, this is Ellie. I kind of feel like my name's between Kelly and Elliot, so I'm kind of in the middle there. I'm going to second what Kelly said, and I'll do it from my perspective. And just so you know, I run the Convention and Visitors Bureau. So, personally, I'd rather not have Austin represented when I'm over here trying to sell Franklin. So I agree with Kelly about the bats, even if it was just pretty green or something like that. And then I went out to see the bats and I was so excited to see the bats, but the night I was there, the bats didn't want to come out and like 3 of them flew out and that was it. And we were just like, what happened to the bats?
Yeah.
So I look forward to going back to Austin to give the bats another try. But otherwise, I like the graphic.
Thank you.
And I think it'll be really fun, especially in the Cool Springs area. It's just the Austin part that, you know, just because of my job and what I do.
Yeah, I second that, Ellie. The graphic is lovely, but it has no relevance to our city and state. And those are my concerns. The
Sure.
relevance of it. I mean, it's a lovely graphic, but there's an octopus and there are mountains in the background. So
I like the octopus because he's got drinks in all of his arms. I was going to say hands, but I don't think that's right when you talk about octopus. Because I think in Cool Springs, I think it's okay to get funkier than what we would do in a downtown Franklin.
Good point. Fair enough.
You know, type of thing. That's just me, the way I think. Because I think, and I think I've said this before in commission meetings, I think Cool Springs area is where we can get, you know, a little, I don't know, a little fun. Just because of what the, you know, it's not the same as the historic area.
True.
Yeah, and I think, and again, the purpose of the refresh was really also it is to kind of show the roots and legacy of the brand, which is over 40 years old now. I mean, started as a little single deli shack here in downtown Austin. So the idea was to kind of tie those legacy to the differentiators without plastering Austin all over, because again, we have over 300 locations nationwide. And so in Franklin and Nashville is, like I said, it's you know, they're very similar in culture and the art scene. And so we thought it was actually just a really good fit. This was really the first location we ran into where we haven't been able to put it up yet. So we're hoping we can get to that.
All right, can we get somebody to make it a amendment to the main motion about the bats? Then we can vote on that and then vote on the main overall.
I was waiting to see if Kelly, I don't want to jump in if Kelly's going to make the amendment. Kelly, did you want to make the amendment?
Yeah, mute.
Kelly, you're muted.
Sorry. I would say yes to the amendment.
So you need to define that amendment, if you would.
Hold on, I'm having trouble, so go ahead and pass me.
Okay, I'll make an amendment that we've asked Elliot and the Schlotzsky's gang just to take a look at the quadrant that has the bats on it to see if we can do a mockingbird or maybe something that's a little bit more applicable to Franklin.
Thank you, Ellie. Can we vote on that amendment, please?
I think you need
Brandy?
a second.
Yeah, you don't have a
Second it.
Oh,
second.
second. I need a second, sorry.
Second, I'll second it.
So it's
Ashley.
Ashley second. Thank you. Okay, now we take a vote on that amendment. Brandy?
Aye.
Ellie?
Aye.
Julie?
Aye.
Kelly?
Aye.
Ashley?
Aye.
Nan?
Aye.
Gary? Aye. Okay, back to the main motion, vote on the overall. Start the vote on that. Brandy?
Aye.
Ellie?
Aye.
Julie?
Aye.
Kelly?
Aye.
Ashley?
Aye.
Nan?
Aye.
Gary? Aye. The ayes have it. The motion is approved.
Thank you.
Appreciate your time, Elliot. Thanks for the presentation.
Yeah, no, thank you. And I appreciate everybody's time and consideration for this. And I hope that you all are safe and your families are healthy during all of this. So just for so from next steps, we should resubmit another mock of that graphic. If we're able to change out that bat portion, is that the next step?
Yes.
Okay, and then once you guys sign off on that, then we are okay to move forward.
This commission makes a recommendation to the Board of Mayor and Aldermen. And so the Board of Mayor and Aldermen would have final decision.
Got it. Okay. Awesome. Well, again, I appreciate it, and we will see what we can get amended on that and resubmit it to you. But I appreciate the feedback. It was great.
Thanks so much, Elliot. Appreciate your time and working this through with us.
All right. Bye-bye.
Have a good one. Thank you. All righty. Item number 7. Discussion of the Developer's Guide to Public Art document. Open up the floor to public comment. Anything, Monique, Angela?
No, I don't have anyone.
Okay, thank you. I'll close the public comment then. So Monique or Holland, do you want to go through that discussion or open the floor?
Yeah, I can. Here, do you want to real quick turn your volume off so we don't get feedback? Thank you.
No worries.
Okay, so I will show you all. I'm going to share you my screen. Can I share my screen, please? Let's see. Yes, it is. Awesome. Okay, so I'm just going to go over some highlights of this document. The idea was to create a developer's guide to public art so that they can have a document in hand to understand how our process works, what public art is, and how they can move forward with incorporating public art into their development. And so some of the things that we incorporated was here is a guide for benefits of having public art. Let's see, scroll down. Kind of what we define as public art, what is not public art, different types of public art. So that could be a freestanding sculpture, a mural, and why they should hire a consultant. It's totally up to them, but this is a process that they can take in order to get the best product, and how they can budget and finance, creating a schedule, resources. We did lead them to you all, since you all know a good thing or two about public art, that if they need to bounce it off any ideas, that we are a resource, how the selection process works, artist contracts, how the public art development process works as well, how the city also processes art, and what they should think about after completion. So this is really for someone who's really interested in public art, but they might not necessarily have experience with installing public art into their property. So what I wanted to know is if you all had any comments or questions about the document.
So just a reminder from Monique that she had mentioned, if someone needs to speak, just say who you are and go ahead and ask any questions. Thank you, Holland.
Yeah, I can hear it. Yeah. Okay.
This is Ellie. First of all, great job on the document. It's so exciting to see this taking the next step, because I know we've talked about it. You all had the meeting with the developers and so forth. I have 2 questions on it. I read through it yesterday. My first question is, so on, I guess it's the second page, you know, we have this section, what is public art, which basically was pulled from our public art guidelines, which is great. And then what is not public art? That first paragraph I got confused about, and it might just be, you know, my lack of knowledge on art, but it says art objects which are mass produced of standard designs such as playground equipment. And the words that threw me off a little bit were fountains or statuary objects. Because they're allowed to put in a fountain, but if a fountain is mass produced, I'm not sure how that goes along with mass produced. I guess that confused me a little bit.
I think it's just really encouraging people to really think outside of the box when it comes to those type of I guess, I mean, I don't know how else better to explain it, but art objects of, you know, I think we can agree that, I don't know, everything looks like a chair, but there needs to be a special quality to it that ends up making it art. And so really, you know, just because they have a bunch of chairs, you know, we need something a little bit extra in order to make it art. Of like, yeah, it can be a chair as well, but if you're going to make it art, you need to prove to us that it is beyond just being.
Okay. Okay.
While you're on that screen, I thought it was also odd that what is not public art shows a piece of public art, which was like the second thing we've ever approved as a commission. So it's very misleading that that image is there next to what is not public art.
I
thought the
agree,
same thing,
Randy.
Brandy.
This is Gary. I was going to say,
Like, now, wait a
slide that
minute.
to the next slide. Yeah.
And maybe there is a good picture here of something mass produced that we don't, as an example of not this. I thought the same thing, Brandy, and I did a double take on that because I'm like, but wait, we approved that. We were so excited about it. Yeah.
I think we were just putting graphics of public art into the document and didn't really necessarily look at where it was placed. Because we definitely want that piece of art in this document. So we'll find another place for it and then find an example of what is not public art.
Okay. Thank you.
And are we supposed to vote on this, Gary? Because we're having a discussion and we didn't have a motion. So I didn't know if we're voting
No,
on this to
This is,
accept
I
it.
don't think this is not a voting item. This is for discussion. Am I correct, Monique?
Okay, cool. Good to know.
Yeah, you're
Yeah.
correct. This is just a discussion item. Vernon wants to take it before the design professionals group as well. And so we'll take comments from you guys and make some edits and then send it to that group and then send it back to you guys for finalization, and then we'll place it on our website and distribute it.
Hey, Monique Holland, this is Gary. I was absent the last meeting. I think this was brought up with Vernon and everybody. So I was looking at it and I was curious, a couple things. One, what developers did you talk to? I guess you spoke with developers, I guess. And I was just curious how the 0.5% came about. You know, I am on the private side. I work with developers that do major big projects. So as much as I'd love to see a lot of art, I just wonder what their thoughts were. If somebody does like another McEwen Town Center, which is close to a $300 million project, 5%, you're 1.25 million contribution. I wasn't sure how that worked, and because it talks about plating and building permit, whatever comes first. So I was just curious what you guys had heard.
Are you still talking about the developer's guide or the public impact, public art?
Oh, I jumped ahead. My bad. I jumped ahead.
Do you want to move on to that one now?
I have another
No,
question.
well, let's discuss this one first. My bad. I apologize. I was looking at my notes. I'm thinking, my bad, Holland. So yeah, if there's any other discussion on this one.
This is Ellie. I have one other question. I think this is probably in my mind clarification. So under the page that with the header City of Franklin approvals, and the third section, evaluation of a proposal, in the second paragraph under that. So it says projects which do not garner the support of the Historic Zoning Commission will not proceed. And maybe I've been thinking about this wrong the whole time, which I might have been. I thought if there was going to be a project in downtown Franklin and somebody brought us a piece of artwork that we voted yes to have installed, and it's in the historic zoning area, and then they take it to historic zoning, and if historic zoning votes it down, they still have the right to take that to BOMA. Is that correct? Because in here it says that if the historic zoning votes it down, then they've got to do a appeal, right to appeal. Or is that the same thing, just in fancier words?
You're correct, Ellie. We'll get that corrected.
Okay. Other
It
than
would
that, I
go
don't.
to the board with a recommendation from the commission and a non-recommendation from historic zoning.
Okay, great.
Right.
Other than that, I thought it was great.
Agreed. A lot of hard work on this. Appreciate the effort on that, Holland and Monique and whoever else helped put that together.
Awesome, thank you. Are we ready to move on to the next item?
Gary is.
Sure. Yeah, I like jumping ahead, going from item to item, bounce around, why not? All right, so number 8, discussion of public art impact fee program, the one I was initially talking about. Open up public comment first before we get started. Anything, Monique or Angela?
No, no one.
Okay, so this is a non-voting item as well. This is just a discussion of this draft document, so go ahead with any discussion. I think I've made my question, so I can either repeat it or just we can discuss that. But I thought it's a great start, obviously. Get some type of funding for art to happen.
Your question was on if 0.5% is too much. Is that
Yeah, I
correct?
was just wondering where that number came from, if you had discussions with developers or just kind of how that, because, you know, I'm on the side of, with developers, we're doing parkland dedication, impacts to schools, impacts to roads. It's just, it's always a stack. The developers come to me and say, well, how can we get rid of that? Or it's just part of the going through the city of Franklin, obviously. So I was just curious.
Yeah. So this is actually a pretty new idea to have an impact fee in order to create public art. So
And
that,
believe me, I love it. I'm not saying it's something we need to have for sure.
yeah, but I'll explain some background with it. So this is pretty unique that this is how we are getting our funding so that we can go ahead and move forward with public art. A lot of cities will go ahead with a % for public art fund where they make if they're having any public development, let's say like building a community center or a city hall or a park, that part of that construction cost, 1% of it is dedicated to public art. And then usually that excess that comes from it, especially if it's a multi-million-dollar project, ends up going back into a fund that is specifically for public art. And so this is just a different way to help us get monies into it and to also encourage, to also kind of start to encourage different developments to put in public art as well, because, you know, they're paying an impact fee for it. And, you know, they might want to use some of our monies in the future once they've established their development and make public art that works for their area. Or also just, you know, a big part is that you all can help choose where public art goes and what makes sense for the community rather than where that new development is. And so 0.5% is actually pretty small to start off with. However, if you do see those multi-million-dollar developments and they're having to pay 0.5%, we could actually end up getting a great return on it. We could look into even like capping the amount that a development would have to pay, or like, you know, they'll have to, if their construction valuation is $500,000 minimum, then we'll want to collect a fee. But maybe we say after $150,000, if they've paid up to $150,000 in this fee, then they don't have to pay anymore. Because that's usually how much a bigger sculpture might cost in order to get the materials and have a consultant getting it installed, etc. But that's really up to you all and what you want it to look like and how much money you'd want to get from an impact fee.
And Gary, I'll say too that this is all just initial discussions. Brian wanted to get something in front of you guys just to kind of look at, talk about, and discuss. He couldn't be with us today, but he does want to bring this back at the next commission meeting, so to talk a little more in detail. And you know, I don't think he has shared this with developers. I'm pretty sure he hasn't. It was just something for you guys to kind of see what we're thinking or where we're hoping to go. Of course, with everything going on in the world right now, I'm not really sure when this would actually be presented to BOMA, but it is something that he wants to discuss with you guys.
Well, obviously, as we've discussed as a board, this is something that kickstarts, gets some funding. That's always been an issue, and the homework you guys have done on this is outstanding. And maybe there's comparisons to other cities that we can look at what their percentages is. And I think Holland said half is probably pretty low, but it's a great start. You know, I think it's something we need to do.
This is Brandy again. I'll be honest, I've not read this. This is the only attachment I did not get to in its entirety. So I may be saying something that's in there, but I think a cap is probably a great idea. I think that we do fee our community to death, but I also know that there has been incredible interest across the board for public art, and we do have to find a funding mechanism. So I do think it might need to be a little bit more strategic about what type of development, so that we're not, you know, pinging Joe Littleman, who doesn't really have the opportunity to do public art. The other thing that I don't even want to use the word concerns me, but for those of you who don't follow along, and bless your heart if you don't, good for you. When we do parkland dedication, the way we've structured that as a city is that we've divided the city in quadrants. So there are 4 quadrants of the city, like West Haven's in quadrant 2, if I'm not mistaken. But basically, if you do development in a certain quadrant, your parkland dedication fee is supposed to be used within that quadrant.
Correct.
And then I also think there's a separate minimal that goes into the big pot. It's been a minute since we've talked about all this. So I do think we need to be really careful as we look at development. I know that Carruthers and all of the urban growth boundary that's fixing to come online is going to be probably the first one to be faced with this expense. So we want to be careful. I mean, they would need public art, but how do we protect ourselves that our public art, say there's a Carruthers development that pays into this, but yet the art that we want is in downtown Franklin. I don't know that I would feel good as a developer knowing that my project may or may not realize the money I put into percentage-wise for public art. So I think, not to get too far down the weeds, but I think what we've got to see down the road a little bit more to make sure that it's fair to all involved. So just saying.
I think the idea of the quadrant is a great idea. I was open to hearing that. And as to who would end up paying into this, it would be new developments that are either commercial or mixed use developments. And this is not for anyone who is redoing their home. It has to be a completely new development.
Is there a minimum of like
500,000.
is it okay? So if it's below $500,000 threshold, they don't have to do anything. Is that what that means? So that's what Brandy was referring to as far as someone, yeah, Joe Littleman. Is that what she used?
it's based on the value of the construction. And like I said, if it's less than right now it's less than 500,000, they're exempt. And there's some other triggers too that they're not exempt. Additions, renovations, stuff like that. So yeah.
I would like to learn a little bit more. I would like to talk at some point, I don't know if this is the meeting, about the quadrants, because I do have concerns if all of our public art is going to be in one quadrant versus another. Yeah. But I don't know if that's for this discussion. But
yeah, I think it's something we need to think about, and that's why I brought it up, because as our development happens in one central area, or I'm not central, but one specific area of the community, we don't want all of public art to be in that area.
Agreed. 100%. Yeah, exactly.
I've got a question. This is Kelly. So could it be divided and have like the percentage that they pay? Could it be divided and have 50% of their funds going to the local area where their business is being developed? The other 50% goes into the big pot to where
I like it.
Used wherever we need it to go?
Yeah, I like it.
Yeah, it's totally up to you. Allocate the money.
Thank you.
This is Ellie. I have a question because I'm not sure how this works with Parkland, Randy, or Gary, I guess, or anybody really. Who knows? Because I don't. If somebody's, let's say Northside McEwen, for instance. Let's say this was in place whenever that got passed or whatever. So if they came to us and said, we're going to put in X amount of public art into this development, if they're going to make a commitment to put art in, do they still pay in? Like if somebody's going to do a new development and they're making a commitment to make a little park or make a trail system through their community?
I
Do they
believe
still
that's
pay in?
where, I believe that's where they would get what we refer to as an offset.
Okay,
Yes.
So, yeah, so they would get that relief somewhere else, or we,
Got it.
you know, we wouldn't realize the revenue because they're already doing what we want them to do. So it's a passing of money back and forth.
gotcha. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, just to clarify, Ellie, parking lot dedication, the first 25% off the top goes into that general quadrant, whatever you're in. And then, as Brandy said, if you're proposing trails as part of your development, there's an offset for that. So all those, what it costs to build all that stuff comes out of what you'd have to put in that pot, so to speak. So it's kind of the same scenario that we're talking about. If they
Awesome.
want to do art up front, that they'll deduct that from what they're owed and say, well, we're going to build a statue that's worth $500,000, so we only need to pay $250,000 more, something like that. But yeah, it
Gotcha.
could be an offset of things. Yeah, that's a
Okay,
great
that
question.
makes sense. Perfect.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Sorry. Do you think that we're going to get any pushback from? I know that most developers, we'll say 75%, are for this, but to Brandy's, or someone said how the developers are getting, they have a lot of permits put upon them. Like, do you think we're going to get pushback from that?
I don't think they're going to sue us like the education fee because it's such a small percentage. But
Okay.
bottom line, and Vernon would tell you if he were here, people pay a premium to develop in Franklin. And they want to develop in Franklin because we do things so well. So I can't really see a 0.5% being something that's going to go make them, you know, riot in the streets and call the news media.
It's not a deal breaker.
No, but I think in every situation, you're going to have somebody that's like, really? Another one?
Yeah.
You know? So, I mean, it's going to be a mixed bag, but I would say predominantly most developers, unless they're hyper local, are used to this type of thing in other arenas. So they're probably like, okay, they caught up with everyone else.
Great. Okay, cool. That's awesome. Thank
And just a side note, we currently do not have an offset in this language, but if you all feel like we should, we can incorporate that as well.
I think that it needs to be kind of incorporated, much like if they're going to do something, they should be credited for what they had intended to do or something to offset that initial front. I think that's fair. Any other discussion?
It was very exciting to see this document that we might be able to get some funding for public art.
Yes.
Was very exciting. So thank you everyone for all your hard work on that.
Well done.
All right. Holland has done a lot of work on that.
Appreciate your time, everybody.
Today is actually
all right.
Holland's last day.
What?
Best of luck, Carlin.
It is. It's her last presentation with us. She is has been our management fellow for a year, and now she is moving on. So we're kind of sad to see Holland go.
Agreed. Well, thank you, Holland. Okay. Number 9 item, announcements, other business. I'll start it off. I just wanted to personally thank Ellie for being our first chair. Big shoes to fill, Ellie. I feel honored, but we appreciate what you've done for us. It's amazing. And thank you, Nan, for being vice chair. Appreciate that. I was missed at the last meeting, so I didn't get to be part of that, but just want to thank Ellie. Appreciate it.
Well, thank you. And thank you for taking the lead when we're going to be in a big pandemic and have to do it virtually.
I know. It's like, why can't I do it face to face? I got to do it this way. It's like, oh man, this sucks.
But thank you, Gary, for your kind words. I appreciate it.
Yeah. Thank you, Ellie. So yeah, anybody else?
The
Announcements, other business?
The only other thing I have is, you know, today we were supposed to start our Fire Hall Art Gallery exhibits. So we're going to have to get those rescheduled for when City Hall opens to the public. We're starting to open up some on tomorrow. So hopefully our next meeting will actually be a live in-person meeting, and so maybe we can start the exhibits on that day.
Okay. Okay. Thank you, Monique. Do we have a motion to adjourn?
I motion to adjourn. This is Ellie.
Second.
Thank you, Ellie. Second by Brandy. Do I have to roll call the adjournment, Monique, or no?
Yes, sorry.
I
Oh, that's
don't.
good. Brandy.
Yeah, get out of here. Bye.
See you, Brandy. Have fun at the beach. Ellie,
Yes, adjourn.
Julie. She leave us?
Yes, no, I'm here. Sorry.
Oh, there she is. Hey there. Oh, you're fine. Kelly,
Yes.
Ashley's gone. So Nan,
Yes.
Gary, I approve for adjournment also. Thank you all. Good to see everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks,
Have a
Gary.
great
You did
week,
great.
everybody. Oh, sure thing. Have a great week,
Yeah.
everybody.
Bye.
Take care.